Blessings, I'm Bishop Xavier Ike Reverend Ike's son. You're about to view a moving tribute to my father, Reverend Ike. It is a testimony to his powerful spirit, his love, his wisdom, and his positive impact upon millions of minds the world over. God bless. I hope you enjoy it.
Dr. Frederick J. Ike Encoder II, better known as Reverend Ike, wasn't merely a man. He was an angel dressed in human flesh that would change the consciousness of a people and influence the world. While America was struggling with its own identity during the 1960s, Reverend Ike was laying a foundation of self-awareness. Ye are gods. While the inner cities were struggling to find their way in America, God was raising up another Moses. While Jackie Robinson was breaking the color barrier in baseball, Reverend Ike was breaking the barriers that separated people from the true revelation of God. As we witnessed the assassinations of some of America's greatest leaders, America was fighting an uphill battle against racism and poverty. From California to Philadelphia to New York, race riots were becoming a part of our everyday lifestyle, and the racial and economic divide was expanding. But God ordained a man to lead a people from slavery to freedom, from poverty to financial independence.
Reverend Ike was probably one of the most influential ministers in the 20th century, if not all American history.
If you want to experience the very best of life, you must believe that you deserve the best. Are you happy for the presence of God in you?
Right in the midst of a people losing hope, Reverend Ike preached a message of liberation that said the best way to help poor people is to not become one of them.
To the thousands of you here in Madison Square Garden in New York City,
Reverend Ike was paving the way, filling arenas and stadiums with crowds of thousands.
I must tell you this because it will bless you so much.
The atmosphere was set for miracles. People were healed of cancer, heart disease, high blood pressure, and yes, poverty.
If there are invalids here, if you can't lift your hands, bat your eye. If you can't bat your eye, wiggle your toe.
Moses was anointed by God to lead the Israelites out of Egypt and take them to the Promised Land. Reverend Ike picked up the mantle and led those who had an ear to hear into financial acuity. A man of great wisdom and divine insight, Reverend Ike liberated people with his witty affirmations. You can't lose with the stuff I use. You have to tell your mind how to think. If you can think it up, you can think it down.
You ask me who is Reverend Ike? He's hard to define.
Reverend Ike was true. He was a blessed person for me to meet.
He was more than just a great pastor. He was a great man, a kind man, a loving man, and a generous man.
You couldn't help but be moved by him. It was kind of a 1-2 punch. He would draw you in with his incredible charisma. And then when you heard what he was saying, it could be just tremendously enlightening.
Reverend Ike was the most unusual, the most inspirational person that I had ever seen.
He brought to us that wonderful message of who we are in God and who God is in us. I knew God was present, but I didn't know he was in me as such. And it gave me this wonderful feeling. As he said, you can do what you want to do, be what you want to be, and have what you want to have through the presence and power of God in you.
Reverend Ike was an absolute icon, a pioneer, a trailblazer. He inspired me greatly in my life by teaching me patience, understanding, and love, forgiveness, kindness. One of the greatest men I've ever met in my life.
But I can honestly say I don't know a major figure that didn't want to meet Reverend Ike and didn't want to talk to him and get counsel from him.
I've heard stories about John Lennon, for example, watching my dad at night. I've heard stories about the rock band Kiss rubbing the prayer cloth before they, go out for concert. Many different people in kind of the popular culture were touched by him. But then just, your average person at home also. Minister Farrakhan in the 70s said to me he wanted to meet Rev Ike, and I called Rev Ike and took him to his apartment overlooking Lincoln Center. I brought Muhammad Ali to his apartment. I've been with him with Reverend Jesse Jackson. So there's many things that we did together down through the years that only he and I knew.
But Reverend Ike had a way of reaching out and making you feel as if you were somebody.
He would bring out the best in a person, asking you to recognize who you were in God and who God was in you.
He would call people, he would say, anyone wants to be healed, come up for prayer. You couldn't get near the platform.
And I've seen people who were in wheelchairs get up after the wheelchairs after he prayed with them.
When he approached the road where I was, and he said, the presence of God in me blesses the presence of God in you. I had an incredible experience.
People that came with any and every kind of condition, unbelievably, they were healed.
And some of them would go leaping and running up and down the aisle or come dancing, get the step going, the music would start, and it was just beautiful.
Here in New York City, where you had churches on every corner, but here was a man who was so unusual until he attracted people from all calibers and all walks of life.
The crowd were unbelievable. The news about Rev Ike was spreading like wildfire.
We got here about 2:45 and had to go up to the second balcony. That's what I call it, because we had to go up to heaven to hear the message. There were no seats down here.
And they came for healing, they came for blessing. Not only did they come for it, but they received it.
The presence of God in me beholds the presence of God in you, beloved child of God. When he opened his mouth with his message, it was a whole new beginning.
The impact of Rev Ike on me was enormous. He changed the framework on which I saw my own religious journey, from an external relationship with the deity to an internal, to knowing God was in you.
He brought God out of the sky, out of the Bible, and placed it in my own heart, in my own mind.
He took young people and gave them an opportunity. He loved young people, always tried to put something or instill something in those young people, gave them a platform, a forum here at the church to do things, to participate, those things that you didn't see often.
There was a drama class, there was just music. And one thing that really sticks in my mind is how he reached out to people. He reached out to young people to help form them for their lives ahead.
So he was someone who I could look up to, someone whose words really had an impact on me, and often encouraged me in all of my educational endeavors.
I met Rev Ike in the early 70s. I came to New York and things were difficult. After I met Rev Ike and I heard his teaching, talking about the power within, the presence of God in every man, I was very much attracted to that because I was having a difficult and challenging time in New York. So I started visiting his classes, I started listening and reading his material, I started listening to his tapes, and I noticed that things began to change for me in every area of my life.
Rev Ike began to teach me in direct mailing. He began to instruct me in the scriptures. He began to instruct me in esoteric wisdom.
Reverend Ike said, when you discover who you are, it does not matter what you have been. Those words just shocked me. And he opened doors to this ex-drug dealer.
Rev Ike is a person that helped people to change their minds about themselves and taught them how to believe in themselves.
He made learning and growing something that was really an enjoyable process.
If it was not for him, I don't think that my life and my experiences would have even come about, because he gave me a confidence in myself that I didn't have prior to coming here.
He's the man who told them, you don't have to wait for pie in the sky by and by. You can have it here and now.
Many successful people in all walks of life and all kinds of businesses came out of Rev Ike's church and responded to his teaching.
He was before his time. So many people who are now talking about prosperity or money. Rev Ike, who could forget being here, Rev Ike talking about shake the money tree, loose my money. It wasn't just about pie in the sky when you die. Yes, you're going to leave here, but what are you going to do while you're here? How do you live better now? How do you live a fuller, a richer, a more complete life, a life that's not just of suffering or problems, that you can have a life that's victorious.
And you know, he spoke with such absolute authority, and he communicated so effectively that he helped me start to understand that it was okay to be prosperous, that happiness, health, and wealth were natural states. They were in harmony with God's laws.
And he just wowed my sense of what was possible. He woke me up to a bigger, brighter, better, more grander and extraordinary tomorrow.
In fact, around 1970, I used to get up at 1 o'clock in the morning when I was living in Chicago just to watch him on television. He fascinated me. His material just sunk right deep inside. It was transformational for me.
My life has changed tremendously, and I've seen the lives of many, many other people change tremendously.
One of the first books I read that Rev Ike recommended was Think and Grow Rich. How you could create exactly what you want by programming your mind to achieve success.
We was down in Texas at one time, and so many people wanted a new car. And he said to them, each night before you go to sleep, visualize yourself in this car, parking it in your driveway or wherever you choose to park it. See yourself in it, not just a car, but the special kind you want. He said you must be positive and definite with the infinite, meaning don't ask God for a car, ask him for a Cadillac, a Mercedes, a Rolls-Royce, whatever it is that you would like to have. Ask God for it and see yourself in it. Every night, visualize yourself already having it. And many, many, many people got new cars.
Well, I remember years ago hearing that there's a preacher out that had a Rolls Royce pointed to north, south, east, and west, and had many garages full of Rolls Royces, and they said his name was Rev Ike. And I remember as a kid, people used to talk about it.
I would always think to myself, I said, well, if the Queen of England can have a Rolls Royce and Bentley, why can't he have it? And he had it. And it was just beautiful to see this man of color just driving his little Rolls Royce.
When he wanted something, he was going to get it, and he was going to have it his way. He was one that liked to have things his way, and he would get it done.
I don't know, if Rev Ike wanted a plane, believe me, he would have the plane.
After being with Rev Ike in the green Rolls Royce, it was amazing because I realized this was a man living life on a whole different level. And from there, a relationship began to bond. As a mentee, a protege, I began to realize I have now found my mentor.
That was a symbol of authority, dominance, wealth, the whole thing. And that's what God is.
This man has had a tremendous impact upon my life. And if he were here today, or even his aura that's here, I could say, Reverend Ike, you made a difference in my life. You gave me an opportunity.
Reverend Ike, you were just marvelous. I don't really believe that I could have gone places that I went without you showing and helping me to go and encouraging me to go.
I just want to thank you.
Reverend Ike, we're going to miss you very much, but we know that the Spirit is still alive, and your teaching will continue to bless millions of people each and every day.
You really served your purpose. You really did what you was called to do. You were the Good Samaritan. You were the bishop. You were the reverend. You were the father. You were the friend. And I thank you so much for it, for my entire life, that you've made a difference in this one person. Thank you, Reverend Ike.
And I just would like to say, Reverend, thank you for coming my way and blessing my life. You made such a great impact. All of my experiences, all my endeavors, I owe it to you.
Thank you for being you. And thank you for recognizing the me that I am and the me that I could be.
Thank you. Thank you for the power of your words. Your words live on. Never, ever doubt that.
I'm deeply, profoundly thankful that I befriended and I attended church with my friend Reverend Ike, Dr. Frederick J. Ike Rencoder II.
Reverend Ike, I want to thank you for being Reverend Ike. I want to thank you for your mentorship. Thank you for guiding me, directing me. Thank you for being in my life. Thank you for teaching me how to ride in a Rolls Royce.
It was my pleasure to be impacted by that man. I'll always be grateful to him.
Reverend Ike, I'm happy for the opportunity to thank you, not just for what you've done for me, but what you've done for countless thousands, including my family. I want to thank you for having a positive idea and believing in and loving other people.
Reverend Ike, well done.
So Reverend Ike, I love you. You were a great inspiration to me. I'll never forget you. You are with me always. I thank you so much for your inspiration, for your love, for your kindness, and all of the things that you've done for me in my entire life. And I just say, God bless you and God keep you.
If Reverend Ike were standing in front of me, I would say to him that I really thank you for your courage. When I learned about Reverend Ike in 1968 and 69, it was a time of incredible racial unrest. And this is a man who stood up in his 30s and said, you can do it, whatever the circumstances are. You can make it happen no matter what the circumstances are. I would thank Reverend Ike for the courage that he had. I think if there was one thing I would want the world to know about my father, is that he had a very specific destiny that he accomplished. And as I see it, that destiny was to bring a certain resonance into the consciousness of humanity, to bring a certain idea, to raise the level of consciousness of the people that he touched. And he did that. He did it powerfully, he did it effectively, he did it unapologetically, he did it flamboyantly. And he did it in such a way that the people he touched are forever changed.
You know, it will probably be a while before they can weigh how important you were and what your message was, because you very shrewdly packaged it so carefully under things that would make them see the fluff rather than what you were really saying. Because had they had the opportunity to really understand the depth of what you were teaching, they probably would not have let you buy the airtime and probably would have not let you rent those stadiums. But some of us got the message. Some of us understood that God wasn't in the sky. God was a lot closer to us. He was us and we him. And because we got it, many of us will change the world, and in fact, change the world by changing ourselves, because that is changing the world. So you were very shrewd. You were probably more strategic than your adversaries. and more helpful than some of our friends. So we thank you for having the courage to do what others didn't do. Some broke the shackles on our arms. You helped break them on our minds. And you never got the kind of appreciation and platitude you should have got. But because you knew who you were, you probably didn't need them anyway. Your self-appreciation and self-applause were the only ones that mattered anyway.
And I want to tell you, thank you. Thank you for your loving. Thank you for your caring. Thank you for your willingness to follow God and the way He told you to go. Thank you for bringing that message of hope to the millions of people around the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My life is better because of my having had you cross my path. And I will continue to share your wisdom with others and continue to apply it in my own life. I thank you, Reverend Ike, and God bless you as you work and be among the angels and be in His presence and know that His presence never left you. Lo, I am with you always, even unto the end. So shall it be. And so it is. It cannot be otherwise. And I rejoice because of it. And these are tears of gladness, tears of joy, tears of knowing that there was a man who crossed my path and made living so beautiful and so possible. Thank you again, Reverend Ike. So it is.
He was ordained to confront the erroneous consciousness of God during his time and bring a strong message of God consciousness that would shake the very core of Christendom. God breathed Rev Ike into this dimension to remind us to live the God kind of life and evolve into the mindset that we are not other people's opinions.
Can all of you say, thank you, Father? Say it again. Oh, I believe you're ready. Presence of the living God is flowing through you from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet.
His message of prosperity touched the very core of every human being.
Everything comes to you from within your own inner feeling about yourself. Right now. Right now. Right now. Something wonderful is happening to you.
Rev Ike believed that God wants the best for His people. We just have to embrace it with our minds and manifest it in our experience. A father, a mentor, a voice crying out in the wilderness. Our angel from God, Dr. Frederick J. Ikerin Cotter II, the man who lived the God kind of life.